Hello, hello. All right, today we're going to talk about this message that might pop into your head, which is that diet was so successful for me in the past. And I had so much success doing X, Weight Watchers, keto, clean eating, calorie tracking, whatever. And I was explaining this to a client because for her, it's always Weight Watchers. So every time she's feeling a little perplexed about her weight or whatever, when I did Weight Watchers X amount of years ago, it was super successful for me. And I said, okay, let's break this down. And I have, for some strange reason right now, I have a tremendous amount of lawyers as far as coaching clients go. So I've been doing a lot of like legal references. Like, let's talk about this as if it's a court case. So I made the point to her, she could break it down for me exactly how much she lost, how long it took her following WW. I said, okay, so you lost 25 pounds in 5 months. Yes. Okay, great. Then what happened after that? Did you meticulously track to see how fast you gained weight? Well, no, I didn't do that. Okay. So, but within a year after losing that 25 pounds, you had gained it back. Yes. So she went from 150 to 175 and then back to 175. And I said, let me ask you this question. If I claim somebody had been murdered and I had no body and no weapon, nobody was dead, right? Would I actually have a sound argument to say anybody was murdered? Well, no. I said, do you see how the fact you gained the weight back, you didn't keep any of it off, tells us that it actually didn't work for you. WW is not successful. And here's how we know. There's no dead body. There's no murder weapon. There's no proof that it worked for you. Because had it worked for you, you would have lost the 25 pounds and you would have kept it off. However, even if you had kept off 10 of those pounds, we could make the argument something you learned at WW, and this is, again, could be keto, could be anything, that whatever you learned there actually made it capable for you to keep some of that weight off. I said, but you just explained to me that that's not what happened, right? So there was no fundamental learning of permanent habits or behavior change that led to this being a successful weight loss. So when your lower brain comes in and says, oh man, I'm only losing a half a pound a week. When I was on WW, I was losing, maybe I need to go back. I said, when it does that to you, what I want you to do is I want you to hear me talking you through it. Is there any proof that it worked? And what we can clearly see is the answer is no. I said, imagine it's two different lawyers arguing a case in court. The one that's trying to prove his side is going to say, oh, look at the evidence. For 5 months, you lost 25 pounds. It did work. I said, but then you got the other lawyer who's like, yeah, but then the weight kind of came back on and she ended up right back where she started. So did it work? You see how they're going to argue these two opposite sides. And then we've got no proof that it worked because there's nothing that's been retained and kept off. And I just wanted to highlight this for her because this is one of the many, many, many ways our lower brain tries to trick and convince us to go back to doing something that didn't work for us. It shows us, it highlights the good. It highlights that 5-month period. She has an emotional attachment to it, the feeling of elation. She steps on the scale. She gets a gold star, an award. All this feels really good. But having now worked with this person one-on-one and seeing that tracking food in general is very difficult for her, and I've had to help her create a way of doing it where she's not tracking food, I really kind of inherently see why it didn't work for her, why it didn't work for her long term. So the reason I keep pointing this out to her is because her brain goes to the results for 5 months. It does not want to show her the regain. It does not want to show her the fact that she ended up feeling not getting to keep any of the weight off, right? It doesn't show her that. And then it claims that this thing worked. And that, to me, is the travesty of it all. We have to look at this in a bigger picture context. If you kept some of the weight off, you can say, obviously, something I learned in that process that I kept doing was helpful because it kept some of my weight off. If you gained it all back and more, then I would argue there's no dead body, there's no weapon, no weight loss happened. So it's a lie that our lower brain is saying it worked. Because when we change our definition of success and say working means I lose the weight, I get to keep it off, I've built skills and habits that allow me to keep it off and that I'm able to do daily, That's how you know it worked, okay? And your mind will always want you to go back to something that it thinks worked for you in the past. But when you run it under this litmus test that we're talking about, and think of it like the court case scenario, if you have no proof that some of the weight has been kept off or all the weight has been kept off, and you can see that you regained it, and you can see that it was temporary, you kind of need to talk back to that little voice and say, that's not true. It really isn't true. I mean, it's a little montage it plays in your head to get you to go back and do the same thing that you've done before. But you'll just keep repeating that same process. You've got to dig deeper. You've got to look at this through a different lens if you really want to be successful with it. All right, guys, I hope this little analogy and story helped. I will talk to you soon. Take care.